Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the ALSA UK podcast. Today's guest is someone who's been making bold moves in the creative world, from the stage to the screen and everything in between. Loresa Leka is an Albanian actress, writer, and creative who has carved her own path in the UK's performance industry, all while navigating identity, culture, and self-expression. From drama school challenges to the struggle of breaking into an industry that often lacks representation, this is a conversation about the grind behind the glamour, the stories we're allowed to tell, and what it means to take up the space as a young Albanian woman in the arts. Whether you're in the creative field, figuring out your voice, or just curious about what it really takes to make it, this one's for you. For those who don't know you yet, how would you describe what you do in one sentence?
I am a performer at the base, and in order to do so I have to wear lots of different hats. So every hat I wear basically just enables me to be on stage. If that's directing, if that's writing, if that's producing at the moment, which is insane. And yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, especially as someone creating her own work. You've got to do everything all at once.
So as you said, you've been working as a producer, an actor, writer. What came first for you creatively, and how did the others actually follow?
Well, actually, I started very young. I started singing. So I think music was the way I kind of got into everything. I was part of like the school choir, and then that in turn got me into like a musical theatre club. So singing and music definitely was the start, the beginning. But otherwise, as a kid and growing up, I was always writing like little stories and poetry. I started writing poetry quite early as well. So it was all kind of merged into one. It was only when I really like went to college did I start thinking, oh, career. I'm gonna write plays and stuff like that. And it was in college where I directed for the first time as well. So I think that was the trajectory. Otherwise, like musical theatre, I feel like really shaped who I was as a kid and who I am now. Singing, writing, acting, and dancing, but I'd never really call myself a dancer. Only like Raleigh, to be honest. That's my favourite dance. I can't really do anything else.
What was that moment that you felt everything clicked and that you can go into this industry?
Well, before going to college, I was going to do like criminology and politics and law. Over that summer, I changed my mind maybe 4 times. I was emailing the man at college that you email going, oh, actually, I've changed my mind. I want to do this. Oh, no. And then in the end, I was just like, no, there's nothing else that I'm really that passionate about. And then in college, in the final year, I directed our final performance. We did The Pillow Man by Martin McDonough, which is an awesome play, if you ever get the chance to read it or watch it. And that was kind of, that was a moment for me to go, oh, I understand what it takes. Like, I understand what goes into it, not just like what it takes for me to do something, but the kind of the mechanics of it all. And whilst that was going on, I was also doing a production of Little Shop of Horrors, with like this club that I was doing outside of school, and I was playing Mr. Mushnik. If you don't know, that's the old Italian New York guy who kind of runs the flower shop. He's really kind of like, hey, come to my shop, guys, and this kind of stuff. And it was my first comedic role ever, and it went really well. I was playing a man, a very old man, who was like the comedic relief, and I was getting laughs every night. And I just thought, oh, okay, like I can do this. It was so outside of myself. Like I'd only played characters which were like the sweet kind of girl in love, and that was, I think, the moment where I was like, yeah, I can really see myself doing this. I can take myself into something completely different and have fun whilst doing it as well. Um, and then I think personally that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, I understand what it takes. Um, but otherwise, the big moment was when Teapot Troubles got shortlisted in New Views competition.
Also, hearing that story about playing an old Italian man, what other crazy characters have you loved playing or enjoyed?
Well, that was probably one of my craziest characters. But the character I'm playing right now in my like graduating performance of Market Boy is this little girl called Mouse, and she is incredible. I One of my favorite characters I've played, full stop, because she's just so fun. And again, it's something like completely other, um, like physically, emotionally. She's got this giggle. She's always giggling. It takes it out of me. It really does. But she's just always giggling, and little naughty girl in Essex in the 80s. It's a lot of fun. Otherwise, I'm always the serious one. Like when I was a kid, I always played like the shepherd or the bossy fairy in like school Christmas productions. Always a serious one. Always a boy as well. I see that's a recurring pattern.
So, your work has been deeply rooted in the Albanian Kosovo identity. How has your family and upbringing shaped the way you tell stories and produce them?
I think at its core and at its base, the way we tell stories as a family and the way we tell stories as a community isn't that we're just kind of not just like educating each other, it's about sharing those experiences. Um, and I found it a lot when I was younger, hearing stories about my parents and their experiences and my aunts and my cousins. And it wasn't about like scaring me or telling me off or this kind of idea. It was just about sharing that knowledge and about letting me into that part of them which I didn't understand and which I could never understand because I grew up here, I was born here. Um, so I think that kind of differentiation of telling someone something and sharing something with someone is something um, I think and I hope to replicate in my theatre, in my plays. The idea that I want to share this story with you. I don't want to just perform it. I don't want you to just watch something. I want you to be a part of it. And I think that's what great theatre is as well. When you feel like you're watching something you shouldn't be watching. You're watching a part of someone's life that you wouldn't see anywhere else.
Definitely, it's great to hear. And touching on that, you mentioned your mother's story was a key influence for Citizen at the ALSA Summit. What did it mean to put that story on stage and have that influence?
My parents are amazing. They're honestly my icons in life. They gave me everything, and not only did they give me everything, they gave me the space to just be. Um, and Citizen takes its creative license to an extreme, but at its core, it's about both my parents and it's about I think everyone that came to England and took the citizenship test. Um, and my mum's story is incredible, but it's not dissimilar to everyone's story. Um, but I think just the idea of your mother coming somewhere new and still being the best they could possibly be, that is something that has always inspired me. Um, my mum's a primary school teacher, so she's always been like a big figment of my childhood and my sister's childhood growing up, because she understood the system and she understood what it takes to kind of nurture children in an English society, and the kind of values that England holds for its kids and this kind of bringing in the future. Like she's always really understood that, and so is my father. My father's amazing, um, but I think having that kind of female figurehead for the story was really important for me, um, as a young woman, and yeah, just a bit of mum appreciation at the end of the day.
And What were the emotions like after you performed it? How did it feel when you saw it all come together?
It was hard work. It was really hard work. I was at school at the same time, so I was like rehearsing, going to school, um, and at the end it was just that kind of, it was that relief that it's over, but also I felt so much pride that I like actually done it. This was my first like show that I'd done completely by myself. Um, and my mum helped me a lot as well throughout it. She took on the role as momager, very passionately. So it was, yeah, it was incredible, and I have amazing friends as well, and amazing people that just came and supported, and it did really just feel like, okay, this is step one. What's next now?
And as someone from the diaspora, that story is a lot from many migrants across the UK and across the world, that they have that idea of these our parents that came and grew into identity of England to understand how to raise children and everything. It's a story that so many people hold, and for you to be able to show that across on stage and through theatre is amazing to hear. And do you feel like your identity is something you've grown into, or is something you've constantly been navigating?
I think it's always there, even if you don't realize it is. I mean, I think as a kid, we we've grown up in around the edge of London and Surrey. So it's quite a sparse environment for the elves. There's not a lot of us over here. So it was a very interesting thing of like, my parents are very integrated, um, and they never kind of made it a point of like, we're different. It was never kind of thing of like, se je shqiptar je ndryshe, you're not like the other kids and this kind of stuff. It was never that kind of vibe, and I couldn't tell the difference either. It was only when I grew up I was like, oh no, I really want to hold on to this. Um, but I think with language, that was something I grew into because my mum's a teacher. She spoke English a lot. She does speak English a lot, and my dad's incredible at English. He's quite the cheeky chappy in the way he talks now. It's amazing. So we're always speaking English at home. So learning Albanian was something that I think really cemented my identity, and it was a thing of practice because we had no other Albanians around apart from like my cousins 20 minutes away, and that was it. We didn't really speak Albanian with anyone until we went to Kosovo, until we went in Shqipni. So I think until I learnt the language properly enough to have conversations and to feel connected to that environment and to that community, um, that identity was definitely something I grew into, and I'm still navigating. Um, yeah, I think so. And it also like doing musical theatre as a kid is never kind of like cool thing to talk about with your cousins. So it was always that thing of, oh, okay, I play football. It's like, I do that too. Yeah, please like me. So it was always quite a funny thing growing up of all my Albanian cousins that live in London are so much cooler than me. I don't understand. I was like, babe, you just do musical theatre. That's okay. So yeah, definitely something I've grown into a lot, especially in the last maybe 4 or 5 years, and always something you're navigating.
Of course, I think it's very true. You're always navigating it. One time you maybe think, yeah, I understand it all. And then there's another curveball. Even with me, when I was like learning Albanian and I feel like I'm a good level, I speak to someone from maybe the south or someone from Macedonia, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know the language, do I? At all.
It's
So it's
hard.
so cool to see. It
It
is.
is hard because also like I find that because I only speak to like my family in specific like parts of Kosovo, As soon as I venture out, I'm like, I've never heard this way before. I've never heard this accent. Please take it easy.
It's very true. So we'll go back and touch on Citizen. Of course, you wrote and directed it, but you acted in it as well. How was that balance of being on stage whilst also seeing everything that you put together come into place? Was it easy to do it? Was it hard?
I think in one respect, it was doing like a one-woman play. Not only does it stroke your ego because you're just doing everything yourself, it's 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 much easier to like it's much easier to physically like put on because you only have to worry about yourself. You don't have to like now I'm putting on plays where I'm thinking of like other actors, rehearsal spaces, your timetable, my timetable. All I had to do was go, I'm gonna rehearse right now for maybe an hour or two, and then I'm gonna eat something, go to bed. So it's a lot more like you can only depend on yourself. But then in that respect, it's also then difficult because without someone kind of telling you that was good, that was bad, do that better, you're kind of just going on a whim. And I think my mum got really good at directing. I think she might be on the route to become a theatre critic very soon. The the way I like to write is to imagine like who's gonna say it. I find it really easier to um to have someone in mind, even if I don't go with that person, to have someone in mind. Like having my mum be one of the characters that I played also was a lot easier because I could observe the way she spoke and observe like that kind of stuff. So I think that made the transition from writing to acting easier in the sense that I was writing for me to speak it. I only had to write how I speak, and what I would say in real life, and what my mum would say in real life, and what I hear her say all the time. And then also, like, one of my uncles plays a little character for like 2 seconds, and it's like stuff he's actually said to me when I was a kid. Um, so it was just playing me at the end of the day, heightened for theatre. So I think in general, it was a really lovely kind of process.
Definitely, and it's so cool to see because, as you said, you could envision each part of your character with people that you know, etc. And amazing to hear. But what was that most emotionally difficult scene that maybe when you were writing it or in the performance that you felt throughout the whole show?
Citizen had three forms. It first started as a play about solely about the citizenship test, and then I tried to make it protest theatre, but then I found that I didn't at the time have the voice for it, and I didn't know how to make that kind of leap from just writing to entertain to writing to emote something. So then the last version of Citizen is this kind of amalgamation of all the ideas I had for it. Um, and that in turn meant that it's not like a completely true story. I've got to make the audience cry sometimes. I've got to try get it out of them, or at least like make myself cry in the process. So there's this one scene where it's set just before COVID hits, which I think like the lockdown and that whole period of time really highlighted um, everything that wasn't quite right with our healthcare system, um, with our society. I mean, racism was running wild during that time, and not because it was heightened, but because we could just see it more, and because it was just so blatant. And this kind of view of immigrants and of anyone different was really laid bare for all of us to see. And I think that's why I kind of set it during that time to remind you of that, how it felt. And in turn, the mother character catches COVID, and the scene where I'm in hospital and it's this one line which always was like the kind of height of the play, and it's she asks, "Chum like take me home," and then I kind of talk about the idea that shpia means house. That's what it's translated to. It means house. And is there a word in Shqip for home? And it's like, oh, because everything in Kosovo, everything there is home. And that kind of, that's always, even now, that makes me feel like, oh, well, let me book my tickets right now. Like, I just want to go back. Yeah, that was always the moment. That always got my mom as well. She'd be like, oh, I'm dying over there, but I'm all right here. Yeah.
It's very true. It's the first time I've heard that elaboration that "shpi" just means house. There's no actual word for home, or not that one I can think of. And as you said, it's just because everything felt like home. It's kind of maybe as a generation of immigrants that there is a home here as well, but then does everything feel like home? It doesn't, because, yeah, that's very, very interesting. I'm a bit stumbled because I don't know how to react. I'm trying to think of it, but it's very interesting.
Yeah. But it's the idea of like, I mean, obviously the diaspora has always been moving. Like, maybe it's an idea that we never needed that word, because your family's here, your family's right there down the road. Everything you need is just right in your circle. And it's only in situations of like extreme situations where we kind of dispersed and found new homes. But even then, everything is still here. Like, and that's what I think is so beautiful about our culture, about our pride. And pride is something that I explored a lot in Citizen, the idea of how prideful we are, and how beautiful it is, but it's also quite dangerous in some respects when we don't allow ourselves to also like integrate into English culture, into what German culture, American culture, wherever you are in the world, where we hold on to so tightly that pride, where it kind of inhibits our ability to explore something else. Because we are here and we are thriving, and we'll always be Shqiptar, which is an amazing thing to be. But see what it's like to be English as well. It's quite fun. Yeah, that's the kind of message, because I always found that interesting. Like, as someone who, as I mentioned, like was very integrated into English culture, this kind of thing. I never really had Albanian friends until I started going to ALSA events, and still don't really feel like I fit in. But my kind of pride comes from, I think, someplace else. Like, I won't walk around wearing the Albanian eagle on my neck, but I'll make sure I sprinkle a bit of oh, where's the like pandufe? Oh, pandufe, like that's what you wear on your feet. When I can't find the words, like I'll it's those little things that kind of remind me of home. Even my earring, I've got like filigree. It's like the art. Yeah.
Exactly. Everyone's culture is a part of them. There's no one way to wear your culture. It's just who you are. And as you said, as diaspora, there's so much about English culture that we will be integrated in. And everything is about who you are and balancing both, because at the end of the day, there's no one right way. There's no way you can pick here, pick there. It's just an accumulation of everything that comes together, whilst 99% of it is you being unaware of it anyway.
And yeah, it's a testament to what our parents have done for us, what situation has led us to. So I think celebrating every part of it, and also educating yourself in every part of it, is the most honouring thing we can do, and the most prideful thing we can do as well.
And we'll talk about that as well, because we'll go on to Teapot Troubles, which was part of a National Theatre New Views programme, and it also went to Audible. And I remember you saying it was the first time Albanian music was played in the National Theatre. What was that whole journey like for you?
It was honestly pure chance and luck, I think, at the end of the day. I was 16 in college, and so the National Theatre does this competition for new writing, ages like, I think, 14 to 18 or 19 or 20, I don't know. If it's 20, why haven't I applied again? But and our college did it. I was really excited for it. I was like, I'm gonna write a play. Let's go. I tried to write a play before, and it wasn't so good. I kind of stopped. But this was like my first play I'd ever properly written as well. And I can't remember how I went about with the idea, but I started interviewing my family. And I think because it's something that maybe the National Theatre hasn't heard before or seen before or explicitly I think it was something new. I think it was something different, because 470 people, that's a lot of plays, and I reckon all of them were amazing. But to have something from my voice and to have something solely about just an experience, not even politically about war or about the events that happened, just about what it feels like to experience that, I think was what made it special. I mean, that's what made it special for me, and I think that's why it got the recognition that it did. Because I think that there's this play called New Generation, who one of the actors who table read at Teapot Troubles was in, and I think he played a Kosovan character. So I could be really off my facts here, but it was incredible. It was the first time I felt seen for anything that I'd done, and it was the first time I thought, right, this is my first credit. That's the first time my name is going to be seen somewhere. Like I remember I cried, I laughed, I jumped up and down when I found out. Because the figure of 470 people and little old me in Richmond College, like it didn't make sense. And then we start like emailing back and forth, like, who do you want to cast for your show? The table read, because it was like 10 of us table read our play, and then one person won. And the production that won was incredible. And they were asking me, and I was like, oh, it has to be an Albanian cast. It has to be, guys, come on. And then they got an Albanian cast, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. I can do this. They're asking me what I want. And then we go, and it's incredible. And the director has just started playing Albanian music, didn't even run it by me, and I just thought, oh, okay, like that's crazy. How I couldn't understand. How do you think to play this? Vale Kosovare, who told you that? What? Do you just research that stuff and it comes up? That's crazy. So it was a real point of recognition, a real point of like reflection of like, I can just write stuff and stuff happens. What? Of course that's not how it happens, but I can make my own work. And I feel very lucky that it happened so early on for me, that kind of moment. Because I wouldn't be doing what I was doing now, I think, if that didn't happen. Yeah, so the journey was crazy. Oh, I haven't told you about how it got to Audible. It's even more exciting. So then a year goes by. We've done the table read. It was amazing. A year goes by. So that was when I was 16, 17. Now I'm 17, turning 18. And they email me going, we're doing a 10-year celebration for this competition that we do. And we want yours to become an Audible like radio play. Now, not only has this play been table read, which is like amazing, now it's being like, what's the word? Like memorialized. Like it's being created into something. Yeah. And it was just incredible. And then they've asked me again, what actors do you want to cast? And I thought, not only, and I told them I want to be cast in it. I will audition, but I want to be cast in it. And then they got me to audition. I got casted in it. And then I said, okay, I want not only Albanian actors, but Albanians from Kosovo who experienced this war firsthand and who understand like the community which I'm literally writing from, the land which I'm literally writing from. And then they did it. And then a few months passed and we're in the Audible studios. Insane. And if you listen to it, I've got an English accent and everyone's got their like Albanian accents. And I didn't even realize, like I didn't even know to put on an accent. And it yeah. And then when it came out and it was a whole thing and like hearing how someone had just put everything together. And this musician, Timur Kuce, he did like the music for it as well, who's like an Albanian composer. And again, it was an English director. And I just found it incredible how much like you can research and you can find these people and there are Albanian actors everywhere. Like that's insane. I didn't know um because I wasn't shown, because I didn't look for them and I wasn't looking at the work they were doing and I wasn't searching for the opportunities I could get. But there are just so many of us out there in the creative arts. Yeah.
So when you heard it was going on Audible though, was there any changes you had to make in mindset or creative approach? Of course, you had a new set of actors as well. Did you have to change anything compared to when it was at the National Theatre, or was it the same? Just to look at the behind the scenes of it.
Yeah, I think I had to change quite a bit of it. I had to think about how to express what I originally tried to express, but all like audio. So originally I'd written for this woman to come on stage and to do like the tea making ceremony, like how you make chai when your musafir come over. This kind of like um the whole process, like you would see it originally. So then I had to rewrite it of like what you would hear. And then the noise of just making chai wasn't enough. So I had to then think, okay, what could this woman be doing? She could be singing to herself. And then I had to think, okay, what song could she be singing? So then I'm asking my family, what's like a song you would just like sing? What's a song everyone would just know? Um, and there are a few that we kind of tried out. In the end, it was like copyright stuff that we had to think about, which is also like it was crazy for the first time to experience. Like you can't do that because of copyright. What? So we sang Tumankucha, which is a song my family knows, all of my family knows. And then this was like the first time I kind of realized that every kind of corner of of Albania, of Kosovo, has their own song, and that Tumankucha isn't everyone's like family song, which I just thought, oh, it has to be everyone's. Because then we got into the room and we were like teaching each other the words to it, teaching it each other how to sing it, um, which was also really fun. So that became like that was the kind of main thing of how do I translate what I wanted to see on stage into what I want to hear now. So it was even like, how do I show that these two girls are running into a church, to the giant creak of like a giant church door, like this, yeah, this kind of stuff.
It's very cool to hear. As you said, it's that behind the scenes because you didn't plan the first play to just be audio. You planned for them to see it. So much it took so much time. And it's cool to know because I wouldn't have known that. I would have thought if they told you to go on Audible, they would just want the same thing. But as you said, it's those little pieces that it's basically your senses. You don't have the sense of seeing it anymore. You need to amplify the sense of hearing it and all the noise. And even To Culture, I think, is a perfect song, which is, it's great to hear. And of course, there was a lot about the Kosovan War and everything that happened there. How were you able to translate that history into something so intimate and personal for even a broader audience to understand as well?
It's something I mentioned earlier, the idea of like sharing stories. So the stories I used, it's kind of like a jigsaw, like of different stories, just to kind of create an atmosphere. The whole play is kind of like an atmosphere, a feeling. It's not a progressive storyline. And they were just the kind of highlight stories which always stuck with me after hearing them as a kid. So it's like the story of my mum and my aunt in Shkop, in the refugee camp. It's the story of my uncle, who is an American now, who always said, Liz, like, I jumped over a wall. I was so scared this one time I jumped over a wall. And it's how they told me it. It was never the facts. Like, I wasn't there. I don't know whether he physically jumped over a wall. But the way he tells me it, it feels like, okay, yeah, he jumped over a wall. And it's the story of the same uncle, his phone call. Oh, this is the same story. He jumped over it. It's the phone call he had with his mum. And then he's telling me how, like, Gigi walk on to, like, how she was reacting on the phone and this kind of stuff. And the way he's explaining it to me is exactly what I wanted to put in the play. And then the last story is my cousin's story. And it's always been the one that's stuck with me the most. And it's the most haunting story because she was so young and her siblings were so young. And it's just the way she remembers it. And she told me, I remember I called her, I was in like college, level 3, where will you eat dinner and stuff like this, on phone to her. And she goes, like, Liz, like, I was thinking about this the other day because I was on the train and I smelt burning. And it made me think of this. Like, I think when we spoke about like the idea of PTSD and how maybe a lot of Albanians who experienced it have it but don't realize that they do have it. And the stories from when she was like 5, 6, maybe 7. And she sees a burning horse. The burning horse is like a major part of this story. And she's telling it to me now. She was probably 27 when I spoke to her. And she says, Liz, I don't even know if it was real, but that's just how I remember it. It was so vivid, and I don't even know if it was real. And that's exactly what I wanted to put in the play. It didn't matter if it was real. It's the memory which is most important. It didn't matter about the facts, about like physically where you are, the name of the town, the name of the soldiers, the name of the anything, just how it felt for you to be there, and just of those stories. And yeah, that's kind of, I interviewed my family. I asked my mum, I asked my cousin, my uncle. I'm trying to think, who else did I interview? But I think that could be it. It wasn't that long. It's like a 20-minute play. But yeah, that's and it's all those stories that like I've been told maybe 700 times over and over again. Yeah, and I think we've all got those stories as well, the ones that they always tell you.
Even you saying that, I think of stories that come in my head that, as you say, they just come over and over again. And it takes some thinking to realize, wow, it's not just a story. This is actual life. This is what they had to go through, etc. It's very touching. It's very, very cool. We'll move on. So, of course, everything was amazing. But we want to also touch on the struggles of the industry. It's one of the things you talked about a lot at ALSA Summit. And you've been through all the audition rooms, the rejections, the uncertainty. What was the hardest part of navigating the creative industry?
Well, see, I'm very early on in my career. I'm about to graduate next week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I think, and I don't go to like a traditional drama school. I'm not at university. I'm on a course, but it's a full-time course, and it's been great. It's really been great. But I kind of left college, fresh 18, and it was kind of like real world. Like I was financing the first term of the course myself. I'd worked my ass off that summer. I had moved out at 18, but not to like student halls, like to like some little room in Dollis Hill in Brent, with three other girls who were all in their late 20s and early 30s, which was, I think, something I really benefited from experiencing, but was crazy. Um, I was, I think it's very different to kind of like university. Um, so that was something straight away that was really a struggle. How do I balance literally financing my school and go there from 9 to 6 every day? Because I can't have like a normal job. Like I can't do a 9 to 5. I can't do like retail in the evenings and this kind of stuff. So then I went into like performance jobs. I did like children's party entertainment, um, which was crazy. Uh, and also like quiz hosting, like pub quizzes. Go and host them, which is lots of fun. But it was very like full on. Like the past 2 years have been very full on. But the thing that I think I've benefited from the most is just the drama school experience, because it's so vulnerable, and it's the best time I think for an actor throughout their like any kind of training, to take the time to like be a bit insular and be very kind of look inwards and see, what am I good at, what am I not good at, and what can I do to fix that, what can I do to be better. And that's, I think, has also been the greatest struggle, is navigating how you're told that, because a lot of the time you're not told directly, okay, sometimes you're not even told directly you're good, and you just have to kind of have that self-assurance, that kind of self-belief, whilst also being self-aware of what you're not actually great at, and then kind of thinking, okay, how do I get better? That's something I think has been my greatest struggle. I think last year I went through a major rejection, which felt like, oh, I hate life, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm never gonna get my opportunity, my big break. But sometimes you just don't fit in. And it's also that understanding of like, sometimes it's got nothing to do with you or your performance, and you could have done something really great, really amazing, and at the end of the day you just look too much like your partner that you're supposed to play, or they've already got a sibling who's blonde, so they can't have you really, and this kind of thing. Like sometimes it just doesn't matter what you do, it's how you look or how you just fit in. So it's also like I think I've learned a lot how to give myself grace, and give the people around me grace as well, that we're all just in the same boat, we're all just trying as much as possible. So it's been a really crazy journey. And then also with putting on your own work, with wearing all those hats, like I've learned how to be a producer the last few months, which I've never really done before. With Citizen I did do it, but it was also kind of taken care of because it was part of like a festival. But this year for the Camden Fringe, like I've learned how to book rehearsal spaces, like how to do marketing and email like newspapers, not newspapers, like online news forums to come and review my show. Like it's insane. There's so much that goes on, whilst also trying to write a script and cast people in it. So it's all about the balance. Um and that's what's been the craziest bit.
What surprised you the most about the experience of it all drama school, at the summer you talked about auditioning for people that have auditioned 5-6 years in a row. Is it easy to feel out of place in these kind of environments?
I always think you've got to love people. You have got to love people to go into acting, into the creative arts. Even if you hate people, you've got to love people, in the sense that you've got to love that people will just be people at the end of the day. And I think that's something that has been a big thing for me. That I'm not Miss Independent all the time, and that I can't do everything all by myself, even though I try to, very stubbornly. But I've got to let people help me and guide me and be there for me. Otherwise, I won't sell tickets. Otherwise, I don't have people who want to see me. I've got to love people, and I do love people, because people are great. Even if you're not talking to them, I'd rather not talk to you, but I'll watch you. That's interesting how you tie your shoelaces. Like that kind of love and excitement for the little things that people do and the little things that make us like human. And I think that's something that has really surprised me, how much of a community I've gained and how many beautiful people I can now call my friends, which at the start of the year I felt really intimidated by. And I was like, oh, I just really want to be cool enough to be a friend. And now we're on like FaceTime every other night because we're best buds. And it's just like stepping out of your comfort zone far enough to benefit from it. And I'm realizing that 4 years ago I was dreaming I'd be here. And now I'm here, I'm dreaming I'm gonna be where I'm gonna be maybe in 4 years' time. And just noticing that I'm living it. I'm living what I hoped I would be living.
It's very powerful, that sense of, as you said, being able to reflect on 4 years ago, this is what you were hoping for. And all the problems you have now, you asked for these problems 4 years ago. These are the problems you wanted. And I think it gets you over that edge where you're like, okay, I did ask for them. This is what I want to do. Maybe these problems aren't the end of the world. Let me just keep on going because I wouldn't want to do anything else. And I think that's very powerful. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about going into the arts but feels unsure if they belong or scared of feeling out of place? What advice would you give to them?
You always belong in the arts, even if you don't know where that is yet. Sometimes you go in thinking you're going to be the most famous, incredible performer there is, but then you end up being the writer, the director. You end up being the coach, the teacher, who gets more out of life living creatively rather than being the center of the attention. And just to love every part of it. The process. I like first day of rehearsals is the best day ever. It is the best day ever because it's the start of something completely new. It's the start of everything's a playground. Everything is just there for you to experiment with, to play with. If you're chasing that end product, you won't enjoy everything that's around you, and you just gotta love it and live in it. And it's hard, I think, as actors, as creatives, it's always hard because you're always thinking, what's the next thing? I remember when I finished Citizen, my dad asking me, "Oh, Liz, what's the next thing you're gonna do now?" And I was like, I just did something really cool. But it is that thing, like, okay, now I need to get thinking of the next thing. I need to get thinking of the bigger, the better. But that it will just come. It will just come so long as you place yourself in a position where you're like kind of ready to receive it. When you're working on yourself, when you're working on being better, a better performer, a better writer, you're reading everything. You're kind of watching all the theatre you can, assessing the performances you see on TV and this kind of stuff. That's putting you in the best position where you're ready for it. And that same thing of people, you're not going to get opportunities if you're closed off to everyone. You're really not. So open yourself up. Let yourself be affected by things, and in turn you'll affect other people with your performance, with your words, with your enthusiasm. And that's the best thing you can do for yourself. Stay true to yourself. And if you don't know what that means, try everything out.
And I think one of the things you touched on in the summit was that you put in the work, you have to put in the work, and that let time take care of itself. Everything that can happen will happen with time. It's not a thing of don't do anything, it's put in the work. And if it doesn't come now, it will come, because if you keep on going, opportunity will arrive. And just let time take it with itself, I think was an amazing thing you said.
And I really do believe it. It's the thing of, I've noticed, opportunities aren't going to fall in my lap. I'm at the best point of my life to just make it myself. If I'm not auditioning for the dream role, why can't I write it? Why can't I put in the work to get it on stage, to maybe one day get it on screen? Like, I want to dabble in screenwriting next. Like, who knows? As long as I'm interested in it, we'll see what happens.
So what has this whole journey from writing to performing to publishing taught you about yourself?
That's always a hard question. I think it's just taught me to trust in it, to trust in the process. And it's also taught me, like, it's given me a big slice of humble pie every now and then. Like, when I first started, I thought I was already good. And now I look back at those videos, I think, I'm only 20. Like, it's okay not to be 3 steps ahead of where I am right now. Like, it is okay. I'm already doing 700 things at the same time. It is okay to relax. It is okay to rest. That has been the kind of biggest thing I've had to learn and that I've been taught. That I can't do everything all at once, and I can't be Miss Independent all the time. And I need to let go of being stubborn and being like, this is my baby. I don't want anyone to touch it or change it. Don't even look at it until it's ready. Like, that's not going to work. I don't know everything. I can never know everything. And I think a lot of what makes what I do lovely and nice and makes me so happy to kind of present it and perform it is because it's all about letting people in. And I've got to a point where I can let people in where, like, it just flourishes, like working collaboratively, working with other people, is something I did struggle with before, because it was like if it's not my way, it's the highway. But you have the most fun when you're just having fun and just playing around with it. So that's something I've definitely had to learn, to let go of a lot of things, because it's all a boomerang at the end of the day. It's going to come back in a different form. And maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. Throw it out again, come back. Oh, I like this bit. I like this version.
As you said, it's about that boomerang effect. Throw it out there. It gets to the thing when you create something, and I think that's one of the big things in whenever you create anything, whether it's creative arts, a product, a business. You always think, I don't want to show anyone till it's ready, because it's that thing of, do I want feedback? Because they might say it's bad, and then of course that hurts you because you just think it's perfect. You created it, but as you said, it's that letting them go of that ego of show people when it's bad, show people when it's not good, because the famous quote is, don't stay on a train if it's going to the wrong path. If someone can tell you, get off here and change, you should look at something else. And as you said, you'll go on the right track, you'll find something even better. And that's what happens with asking for feedback from people you care about. Not everyone. You don't need to hear everybody's feedback, but from people who truly care about your journey. And I think throughout the podcast, you talked about it a lot, where you kept on going to your family, your parents, you interviewed them for feedback, for what to change, what to do. And I think that's very amazing, and it touches on having a good community of people that you can just say, I can try this, maybe this. What do you think of this? What should I add here? So what's next for you, Loresa? Of course, you're in a play right now. There's loads of things coming up. I know there's so many projects and ideas you've got excited for this year. What is coming next?
Okay, we've got some exciting stuff coming up. Obviously, I'm about to graduate, so in comes the Camden Fringe season. If you don't know what the Fringe is like a giant festival for theatre, new writing. And this year I've got 2 plays in the Fringe. I've got a Women's Truth. Also, okay, before I start this, I get that everyone is in Kosovo in Albania during the summer, which I've also had to deal with when casting these plays. It's been tough out here. I'm having my English summer this year because I've prioritized theatre. Okay. But if you are around, if you are here, because you're stuck here like me, I've got a Women's Truth, a play called A Women's Truth at the beginning of August. That's like bank holiday weekend in August. That's the 2nd and the 3rd of August. I've got my calendar over there. 2nd and 3rd of August, and it is a play about these 4 women who are best friends, and it is in the format of a live podcast. But slowly everything crumbles and falls apart. It's very, very exciting, very, really exciting. I'm doing it with my 3 best friends. They're all incredible performers. So if you're around, give it a watch. It's quite the summer treat, quite the summer kind of fire. And then I've got a show called Creative Chaos, which is near the end of August, the 20th and the 21st. And that is something, a little bit of me. It is a kind of, I always don't, whenever I talk about it in person, I never know what to say to not give away too much, which is then I think me being precious about it. But it is a play about a writer and an actor and their kind of symbiotic relationship. If you don't get it, I wrote it, obviously, which is really kind of obvious. And I'm also playing the writer in it, and it is quite the kind of explosion of what it means to be creative in a world that kind of is not fun at the moment. What it means to try and create art for people who are preoccupied with politics. What it means to try and make political art when all you want to be is happy. Like the kind of seesaw of how do I make something truthful when truth isn't just handed out. But at the end of the day, it is about this sibling relationship, which is just lovely. I love a sibling relationship. Frozen is my favourite film ever. And those are everything fun coming up soon and next. Right, so I've got a website, but it's having a revamp at the moment, so don't look there. All this information is posted on my Instagram. But if you're looking and interested in the Camden Fringe, the shows are listed on the Camden Fringe website.
Yes, as you said, we'll also include all of the links in the description of YouTube or Spotify, wherever you're watching this. So, Loresa, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much. And all the ALSA community has enjoyed everything you've done. I know so many of us has gone to your plays and everything that's been going on. So I hope anyone listening, go to these shows, go see it in August. Sadly, I'm in Albania, so I won't be able to. But as you said...
So much fun. You live your best life for us all.
Thank you. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Loresa. And it's been an amazing podcast. We'll see you very soon.